greatest news and reviews. I'm Captain Mal.
And I'm Weapon 2. Welcome to the video, people. Snoochie Boochies.
And today we're bringing you our official review for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. So, Weapon 2 and I had the great honor of attending the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow last night at the Neptune Theater in Seattle, Washington. It was dope as hell. Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes were there on stage. They screened the movie, then had a Q&A after. I dare say this is probably the perfect environment and experience for this movie. But taking ourselves out of this movie, out of the experience and all that, and just trying to judge it strictly as a movie, we're going to try to be honest as we can. We'll keep the first part of this review spoiler-free as always. We'll try not to spoil any big plot beats because there is something specific I want to talk about later. But, Weapon 2, taking yourself out of the experience, did you think this was a good movie? Just bring it all in.
Out of the experience?
Yes.
Here's what I thought. This movie was simple. It was fun. It had kind of like a tender, endearing story. It's basically just a sequel of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and what it really was is it was a big kind of present to the fans. What it was though there was a story and there was a plot that was kind of fun and just simple. It was pretty much not much more complex than you would expect from most of the movies that he's done, but it was jam-packed with callbacks from every movie that he did. Mm-hmm. All the stars that he, that have been in lots and lots and lots of his other movies. So the way they're doing this is genius, because there's not a better environment than to pack a whole place full of fans, because you feed off each other and it builds and makes the experience that much better. I think that to random people, this would be enjoyable to some extent, but I don't think that it would have all the impact that it does in that setting. So, like I said, I think that this was kind of a standard Kevin Smith movie. It was if you're a Kevin Smith fan, you're gonna love it. If you don't like his movies, you're probably not gonna like this one. But I think that's my take on it. What about you?
No, I'm kind of right there with you. I feel like if you love Kevin Smith and you love his movies, this is going to be right up your alley. If you don't like Kevin Smith, though, it's not going to win you over. Specifically, though, this is kind of like if I tried to show Avengers Endgame to somebody who had never seen a Marvel movie, they'd probably be like, that's a good movie. Wouldn't get half of the shit going on, though, right? This movie, more so than any of his other movies, is so reliant on callbacks and references and former actors coming back to play previous characters that you've never seen before. To the hardcore fans, and it's, like you said, in the environment we were in, anytime a cameo would show up out of nowhere, we would be cheering and shit. It was like a sporting event. It was great. Yeah. If you're not a fan of his old movies and you don't understand any of that, none of that's going to land for you.
Right.
And half the jokes are going to land for you, and you're just going to be like, okay, this is kind of a silly, dumb stoner movie. But the things that made it awesome were all the callbacks. How they're talking about it being a reboot and the difference between a reboot and a remake, that was fucking hilarious. And just all the characters coming back, that was great. But you have to be a hardcore Kevin Smith fan. And if we're being totally honest, this was a good Kevin Smith movie. Was it his best one? No, because I feel like if you're a fan, watching it in the environment that we watched it in made a difference. Because there was many moments that I thought were funny. Were they laugh out loud funny? No, but the theater's erupting because of the collective atmosphere is so strong, so you're engaged in it. If I was watching that at home on Blu-ray, would I have laughed out loud? No, but it was still good. It was still enjoyable. And at the heart, the great thing about this movie, just like lots of his previous movies, is yes, it's dumb and it's slapstick and it's comedy, but there is a heart to the story, right? There is something that actually will hit you on an emotional level if you allow it to, which we'll actually get into in the spoilers. And knowing the story of how certain characters came back and how certain actors came back and the way that it worked out in real life situations made the weight of those hit a little bit harder when actually watching the movie. But again, you have to really be a fan to know that and to understand that, and so to allow it to hit you that way. So this movie, more than any other Kevin Smith movie, you have to be a fan in order for it to land for you.
Right.
So would you recommend a casual fan going and seeing this in a movie theater? Do you think it's an enjoyable time?
No. I think that this is a great thing to watch if you just want to check it out when it comes out and streaming. I think that anybody who's a Kevin Smith fan will enjoy it. and the like. I mean, to me, this was the biggest gift he could give his fans.
It was a love letter to the fans.
Yeah,
it was totally for
it
the
was
fans.
total fan service throughout, and so I mean that's what it is. And if that's what you're into, and you're a Kevin Smith fan, I'd go see it. I try to catch him on the live show. I'm telling you this right now. You will never, ever, ever, ever have anywhere close to the experience that you're going to get on the what do they call it? The Reboot Roadshow.
Right.
Because
it was so fucking
oh
fun.
man, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I left man, I felt great.
Yeah.
The feels, man.
No, it really is. So if you watch Kevin Smith, like his Q&As, the evening with Kevin Smith and all that, he's very good on stage. He answers questions and shit like that. And like somebody will ask what should be a simple question, and he goes on a 45-minute fucking story and then forgets what the question is. And so it's like literally he comes out and introduces the movie, we screen the movie, and then there's a Q&A, and it's fucking amazing. So like the experience was fantastic.
Right.
But the movie itself was good. If you're not a Kevin Smith fan, you don't need to go to theaters to watch this. I mean, rent it later and maybe you'll like it. But I feel like that'll do it for the spoiler-free section, so I'm going to give you guys an official spoiler alerts, because I do want to talk about a specific scene. And since the spoiler alert has been thrown out, I want to talk about Ben Affleck.
That was gonna know.
Ben Affleck.
There was two
with the
things
bomb
in
and
this.
Phantoms, yo.
There was two scenes in this.
Alright, what got you? What are you talking
about? I mean, I don't want to take this, but Ben Affleck was one of them.
I love
it.
Was
one of them.
Best bat chin ever.
Yes.
Alright, go.
So, if you know about Kevin Smith, if you follow him, you know anything about it.
You should.
You know that him and Ben Affleck had I guess you want to, maybe you can call it a falling out.
They did.
10 years ago or so.
They were great friends. He was in a lot of early Kevin Smith movies.
And I don't know exactly what it was. It was some interviews, kind of made things tricky and complicated.
Yeah, details have never been. A lot of it is rumored to be Affleck's wife at the time, Jennifer Garner, had an issue with Kevin Smith being a dick. So like, yeah, he's never actually said why.
Yeah. So they basically just kind of stopped talking to each other. Mm-hmm. And so, anybody who gets in a situation like that, the thing just builds to this almost an insurmountable barrier of not knowing where anybody stands or how to communicate with each other.
And even if you want to reconnect, you don't want to be the one to fucking put yourself out there first. It just becomes a snowball effect of fucking stupidity.
So Kevin Smith had never even thought about Ben being in the movie because he didn't think that it would ever happen. And he was afraid to ever even bring it up. And so Ben Affleck was being interviewed by somebody, and they kind of off the cuff said something and mentioned the reboot, and he said something like, "Oh yeah, I'd do that."
Yeah,
and
so
something simple like that.
He basically he was a Kevin Smith man and a fan of the work. So anytime he would interview somebody who used to be in a Kevin Smith movie, he'd make an obscure reference to one of those movies. So Ben was doing a press junket for Frontier, the movie that's on Netflix that he's in, and they were just like, "Hey, so they're filming Jay and Silent Bob Reboot right now. Are you in it?" And Affleck's response was, "No, and I'm not busy."
Yes, that's exactly what he said.
And so Kevin Smith is just like, everyone was like talking, they were like almost done with production of this movie. They had like a week left to shoot, and everybody was just like, "Hey, did you hear what Ben said? Call him, he wants to be in the movie." And Kevin Smith's like, "No, that's just some shit you say at a press junket. He doesn't really mean it." Hey, turns out he fucking meant it. Mm-hmm. And so this movie, oddly, like he talked about on stage when we were there, it's like, it was a fun movie and it was great for him to make, but it gave him his friend back. It was a way for them to reconnect. He reached out to Affleck, he texted them, they texted back to each other. Affleck flew down to Louisiana to film the movie, and out of nowhere he rekindled this friendship with him. And so the reason this is so great is like, yeah, Kevin Smith got his friend back, but the emotional turn in this movie revolves around Ben Affleck's character and him playing Holden McNeil, the character from the old movies.
See, and also, it's not like they're just friends like they met when they were adults. These are childhood friends.
Yes.
Jay, Ben Affleck,
I think Mosier and
all those guys, they were all kids
and
friends when they were kids.
Yeah.
So when I say, geez, it was like heartbreaking that this was going on. It was more than that. I mean, they were lifelong.
Right. And so Kevin Smith, even telling the story on stage, was getting like teary-eyed, fucking Hampton and shit.
Yeah.
But as far as the movie goes, so if you don't know the plot of the movie, you're in the spoiler section. Clearly, you don't give a fuck. So you find out that Jay has an illegitimate child that he had back when Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. In that movie, he knocks out Justice, played by what is it, Shannon Elizabeth? Is that her name?
Yes.
Yes. Bam, nailed it. First try. So he knocks her up, and like they're going to ChronicCon, which is a Comic-Con basically that spawned up from Bluntman and Chronic the movies.
Yeah.
And so they're
in the new movie, Bluntman v. Chronic.
And so they're trying to stop the reboot of this movie happening, just like they're trying to stop the original movie from happening. Yeah. And they get there, and at Comic-Con, Ben Affleck's character Holden McNeil is there, and just like in Chasing Amy, when Jay and Silent Bob were the ones having the conversation with fucking Affleck kind of doing his turn for the character, it's the reverse in this movie, which is actually quite brilliant. It's Holden McNeil talking to Jay because he has a daughter that he had with fucking the chick from Chasing Amy, can't remember her name. But he tells him about how his life is a stage and you have your first and second acts, and then your third act is about your kid, and it's very touching, very heartwarming. Here's the thing, I don't have kids. I don't really like kids. I got teary-eyed. Like, it hit somebody with no soul like me pretty hard because it was actually very well done, very well written, and they named the kid Amy, and Affleck's like, now I just spend my days chasing Amy. And I was like, oh, fuck! It's like, that was a good line. So the emotional term...
And the little girl was Jason Mewes' daughter!
So, like, it's meant on a few levels, and it's a turn that Jay realizes he needs to go be a father and go... So it's a pivotal point in the movie, and as Kevin Smith said on stage, without that, he said what the original idea was, and it was just like... Yeah, no, the movie totally wouldn't have been as good. That kind of made the fucking movie. So that was great to hear. Was there another moment that you need to talk about, spoilers?
The other moment for me had nothing to do during the movie. Actually, it had something to do with the potential of the movie, but it was in the credit scene when... Yeah, so this is the deal.
I wish they did that.
So Kevin Smith is on a cruise with Stan Lee, and he's talking to him about this movie and he's going to have a role in it. And I found out recently, after we did this, just how big a role Stan Lee was supposed to have. So the scene of them going over these potential lines that might be in the movie, we're talking pre-heart attack Kevin Smith, when Stan Lee was still alive. Jeez, man, I'm telling you what, man, my eyes started watering.
Yeah.
God, it made me feel.
It did.
And what I found out though is Stan Lee was supposed to have a huge role in this movie. The character that winds up being, you got Kevin Smith playing Kevin Smith and Bluntman. Kevin Smith was not supposed to be in this movie as Kevin Smith. That was supposed to be Stan Lee. Stan Lee was supposed to be the person at the Comic-Con that the Russian undercover as Chinese girls come in to take over the world and assassinate somebody. That was supposed to be Stan Lee.
That would have been fucking awesome.
He was supposed to play a huge role in this movie, and it was, just heartbreaking.
Well, and it's still, the movie still works with Kevin Smith playing Kevin Smith. But
if
that were Stan Lee, that would have been so great. And you're right, like, he's obviously interviewing him, and you see these in the credits. They're at Comic-Con, and they're on the IMDb boat that Kevin Smith does every year. And they're going over the lines, and fucking Stan Lee keeps fucking it up, and they keep laughing and shit. And you can see the friendship that they had. And
what it is
so
is Stan Lee says his line, and then Kevin Smith just stands there, and he's like, and Stan Lee goes, "Aren't you supposed to say something back?" And he goes, "No, I'm Silent Bob." And he goes, "Well, go get Jay."
Yeah, that was good shit. Unfortunately, Stanley passed away before he could do this, so yeah, that was kind of sad. Hit you feels. He also, at our show, told a really great story about George Carlin that I'm not going to talk about because that's the kind of shit you get when you pay the money to go experience this in person. Maybe you motherfuckers should go see the Jay and Silent Bob reboot retro.
I recommend it.
Just saying, it was fucking fantastic. So, Weapon 2, any closing thoughts?
Now, I was glad I went to see the road show. I was glad I saw the movie. I was glad we got to hear all about all the other stuff, outside stuff, from Kevin, and a little bit about from Jay, because he doesn't talk that much.
Jay just kind of stands there while
Jay does all the talking in the movie, Kevin does all the talking.
It's like any guest on the podcast when that dickhead Captain Mal talks. So, it's all about me. I think this is a great movie. If you're a Kevin Smith fan, you'll definitely enjoy it. If you're not, maybe brings it a little bit later. But if you are a Kevin Smith fan, go see it like we did. Go see it.
Yes.
Experience like this. It is totally amazing. I will definitely do this again. If we
do it!
Right. And you know what else you should do? You should like and subscribe. Right? To the
yes.
show,
I mean, yes.
Yes. Just do it, right? Be a good person. Enjoy it.
It'll make your life better. I guarantee it.
And as always, thank you for joining us on this episode of the world's greatest news and reviews. If you've enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe.
Peace.